noted in the memorandum, there are two provisions that were modified after a thorough and rigorous evaluation process that's been taking place over the last several weeks here in June. We have, in recognition of service that we have found to be exemplary, rolled Anthony's term of his contract to extend it, or continue it to a 4-year term. And we are increasing his compensation by 5.16% to $3,010, which is in line with other employee increases that have happened previously, and represents compensation that we feel is in line with his performance and the amount of work that he is required to do as a superintendent. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Barbara?
So I just wanted to add a couple of comments about the process. I see some new faces in the audience, and I wanted to just share the process we go through. And it does start about a year, starting in June through September. We discuss priorities for the coming year. In January, we do an informal mid-year evaluation with the superintendent. And then he submits a self-evaluation, and we spend many, many hours discussing amongst ourselves many criteria. And we have a evaluation tool which is available that we go through each criteria around his vision of learning, school culture, management of the organization, operations, community engagement, his integrity and fairness, acting in an ethical manner, and then on our district goals from the prior year. And I personally just wanted to add that I feel so much has been accomplished this year that I'm very proud of. When I came on the board 3 years ago, I had sort of a list of things I was hoping we could tackle, and we've already addressed many of them, which I'm very excited about. One of them is a teacher evaluation system to make sure our teachers are supported as much as possible and get the professional development they need. I really had a passion around long-term planning and strategic planning, and we launched HCSD Forward, and not in a sort of long, drawn-out way, but we're actually acting on 2 initiatives in the fall, world language and technology, as Anthony has mentioned. So I'm extremely proud of our team and Anthony for that. A renewed focus on professional development, especially looking at a system of professional development, not just discrete opportunities for teachers, but really how can we help teachers get from where they are to where they want to be in a very organized way. Managing the West Facility project without another person to help him. He's done a phenomenal job researching the best materials and buildings, and our team went out and visited the manufacturing plant. We went with other buildings, really involved all of us in the process. It was very thorough. Assessing the safety of the trees, which has been an ongoing discussion for many years. We're finally tackling that. Communication, making sure we're being more transparent with the community. The Crocker grading policy, which again, we've been talking about for a while, getting it back on track, working with Catherine, making sure it's consistent across teachers and classes. And then just personnel management, just the day-to-day management that I see him meeting with his direct reports. He meets with board members, he meets with parents, he meets with teachers, community members. That could be a full-time job in and of itself. And I am just very pleased and very proud to be on this team, and I think he's done a phenomenal job. And I know it's also a lot of the administrators in the audience and many of our parent partners, but I think we have a lot to be proud of, and I just personally wanted to put that out there and go on the record saying how happy I am. So thank you.
Any other comments or questions from the trustees? Great.
I say the same thing every week we do this. One of the ways publicly that the board can express confidence in the superintendent is by keeping that term of employment, the maximum under the law, which is 4 years, which means we want you to stay here, which I want you to stay here. The other thing that I'm proud of is when I came on the board, this is in the interest of transparency. Well, let me just say it this way. Every time we amend this contract, even if it's only 2 things, there's a complete new document issued and available to the public, so you don't have to go sifting through 5, 10, 15, or 20 amendments to a contract that was passed 20 years ago, and that's what we're still doing. So one can always see the entire superintendent's contract, and that's just symptomatic, I think, of our interest in transparency.
add one thing, I also just wanted to mention that even though I'm saying Anthony's accolades, we don't always agree, he and we don't always agree amongst the governance team. And what we do is find common ground and common understanding and work through that foundation. So I want to just reiterate that it's a very high functioning governance team where we have shared goals and we work to execute against those. And we also always value parent input. I know many of you have been in the audience over the past year, and it's important that you keep giving us input. We may not always go along with what you want, but we really welcome the input. So we appreciate you coming and making the time to share your opinions with us.
Are there any other comments or questions from the students? Would anyone like to have a question process on this agenda item? Okay. Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve this contract.
I move that the board approve the employment agreement for the district superintendent between the district and Anthony Rainine for the 2014 through 2018 school year.
Did you want a second? Okay, awesome. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Contract is approved. Okay, item 8.10, board committee assignments. So, Gilbert, welcome aboard. I want you to work.
You know, when we fill out applications, it said this is the number of meetings you need to commit to. I think there was a page missing from my copy.
This is the officials. Just want to let you know, Gilbert started his day with us today at 2:45, so we've gotten a lot out of him so far. It's a good investment. So what we need to do today is fill in some committee positions that were vacated with Karen Hardy's resignation. And unless there's some real need to do any reshuffling, I don't think we'll do a major overhaul at this point. But I want to be sure that we have the right people in the right space. Our communications, HSF, and roundtable, and trees. Although, Don, would you already been filling in on that? This is blank on mine.
Yes, I've been appointed to that.
Okay, all right. Did you want to continue? No, capacity. Never mind. I'm sorry I asked the question. Okay. So are there any other, let's see, and actually on facilities, is that, I had a buddy there. Yeah. So, yeah, Gilbert, do you have any, interest in filling in on this?
I would be happy to fill in for all the spots.
Okay. What I would suggest is that when we review the chart, the more senior trustees move into trustee one position, just as they would be sometimes both trustees attend, whatever function this is with the committee, but just to be sure that there's some institutional. So that means that I have you as a communications committee member, a facilities committee member, an HSF Schools Foundation committee member, and a roundtable communication committee member.
That's right.
Is that okay?
Awesome.
Yeah. Mark?
I'm willing to help with communications if you feel like you're too much.
That day will come, sure.
Speak now.
You decide to go into the committee if you want one.
You could be an alternate, Marty, if you want to switch this out. I mean, I kind of am just because the board board president does a lot of the communications. It's going to be a topic of conversation for the governance team anyway, so.
Okay, and I have some ideas that I want to share during our board communication items later, so.
Okay. Thank you, Amber. Any questions or comments from members of the public? All right, thank you. All right, resolution number 2014-06, SELPA local plan, Elliot, Anthony.
Yes, thank you. Our special education local plan area of San Mateo County is a countywide group that works with special education and includes such things as setting rates, doing some funding models, some emergency funding that you can apply for. So it's an important group. Just as an aside, I'm joining the SELPA board next year. So they've asked me to step up to that, as you'll recall. Last year I was on it, and this year I wasn't on it, so next year I'll be back on that body, so that's good. The SELPA body has requested a change to the local plan, and that change necessitates that every school district approve said change. And this is really a formatting thing more than anything. There is a school called the East Palo Alto Academy, which is a charter school. And they currently are part of the SELPA as their own charter, but they're working to become parts of the Sequoia High School District. And once that's finalized, they will still be a part of the SELPA, but under the auspices of the Sequoia High School District. Even though this is a relative non-change, since it is a change to the local plan, every governing body needs to approve it. So I strongly recommend we approve. It's not going to make a difference to the Hillsborough City School District in any way. It just allows us to continue moving forward. Pro forma.
Are there any questions from members of the board? Members of the public, any comments or questions? Is there a motion to approve the resolution? Gilbert?
Yeah, I'll move that the board adopt resolution number 2014-06 with the change to the San Mateo County Special Education Local Plan, area local plan, the area of local education agency participants.
Second.
Well done. Donna? Any discussion? Any roll call?
Linda Siskins.
Aye.
Greg Dan.
Aye.
Don Gillis.
Aye.
Monty Todd. Aye. Gilbert Warren.
Aye.
Resolution adopted. Okay. Memo on this one. Oh, there wasn't, okay. Item 8.12, the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury Court response on charter schools. Go ahead.
So starting on page 127, we've included the entire San Mateo Civil Grand Jury publication, which is entitled Educational Frenemies, Can Charter Schools Inspire Better Student Outcomes in Public Schools in San Mateo County? As you know, the San Mateo County Civil Grand Jury is made up of a body of lay people that volunteer for the position, and they're seen as a watchdog group to look out for the interests of the people of San Mateo County in regards to anything that's public government, public schools, etc. So upon a suggestion from the member of the public, the Civil Grand Jury looked into this question about public charter schools and whether they're sharing information effectively between and amongst the public schools. They studied the issue. They talked to lots of different districts. They didn't contact our school district, but they could talk to superintendents, board members, heads of charter schools in the county in order to sort of get at, how are people working together? Are they sharing information? As they always do, they present a number of findings and they present a number of recommendations. The Civil Grand Jury cannot enforce these recommendations on a school board or any other public institution, but they do mandate that you respond to both the findings and the recommendations. Before I go into my proposed response for us to make, I'll say that we are not under the gun in terms of the timing. So we have a goodly amount of time to respond to this report. So if for whatever reason we felt like the draft letter that I have before you needs significant amount of work, we could bring this to the August meeting and still meet all the timelines that are necessary for the San Mateo grand jury. But I did present a draft response. You can either approve this response as written, approve this response with revisions, or ask me to go back to the drawing board. And again, we do have time, so you have lots of options open to you. I'd be happy to go through each of the findings and my proposed answer and each of the recommendations and my proposed answer if you think that'd be helpful in, or we could just go to questions since it is in your packet.
I'm going to ask the board if they have any questions about this.
I had a question. The proposed response includes inadequate information as part of the reason. Do you anticipate there will be more information in the near term, or it's just not available?
No, it's just not available. So one of the reasons that I'm saying, not enough information is some of the findings have to do with what all charter schools or what all districts are experiencing. And I don't think it's appropriate for this body to answer for all of the district schools. And so I don't think that information will be forthcoming.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Great.
Yeah, I'm just curious on the answer to finding number 2, whether there was any communication with Ann Campbell before we filed this answer.
Yes, so Ann Campbell has already put out a public statement. It's not her the county's formal answer to the grand jury. And she has already stated something similar, that she thinks it's a great idea that we have some more formalized ways for charter schools and public schools to work together and collaborate. And she's already pledged to do that within the county meetings that happen monthly. So if you agree to this, it wouldn't be in opposition to anything that Ann Campbell, county superintendent, would be looking towards.
Mark?
So even though I do have a lot of passion around the promise of highly effective charter schools that exist in other districts, I feel that given the fact that this doesn't really affect Wilkes Road anyway, and that this is such a complicated, big topic, handled in an unusual way by the grand jury, that your responses are adequate, and that to spend too much time on this would not be a good use of time. So I think this is great to happen.
Ditto. I wish the grand jury would get out of the business of education, frankly. The last couple of things that have addressed schools, districts here in San Mateo, I don't understand what is hoped to be accomplished by it. I read this report and I found it to be very poorly written, very poorly supported, and I didn't think they even checked their own work because there were things that were internal inconsistencies in it. So I'm in agreement. I would prefer not to spend any more time on this. And I agree also that at the end of the day, more communication is great between all schools in the county. I don't think we needed a grand jury report to make that recommendation. So, are there any other comments from board members? Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, do you need a motion on this, or do you just want some direction to go ahead and proceed with the response?
I think a motion would be most appropriate.
Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the district's draft response to the grand jury?
I move to approve the district's draft response to the grand jury on charter schools.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None? It's approved unanimously. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Field studies renovation.
And I'll just state for the record, as per item 8.12, Teresa helped a lot with the writing of that as well. So I'll share the credit with her for helping make that a really good
Wait,
document.
did I mention that? Thank you, Teresa.
Okay, on to item 8.13, the Northfields renovation. During the special meeting that was convened on May 14th, we started studying this issue. And we didn't agendize it for action, but the board did express some direction to staff to bring it back during the second June board meeting right now for further consideration, for questions, and for possible action. The board also directed staff to come up with some additional information, which we hope we've been able to provide today. So Hillsborough Recreation is a joint powers agreement between the town of Hillsborough and the Hillsborough City School District. There are two of our district trustees, Dawn and Lynn, that sit on that body, as well as two town council members and one at-large committee member. And they're responsible for they're a governing body just as the trustees are a governing body of the school district. So we began Hillsborough Recreation, because I'm also the executive director of Hillsborough Recreation. We began studying this issue really September 2012. And what it stemmed from is recreation had been putting aside a reserve of funding for more than a decade in order to account for a very real need at the time. And that was the need to move the North Preschool into a different space. Because at the time, this was before the buildings and the renovations occurred, the demographic information said that we were going to continue to grow at North, and we'd no longer be able to devote that preschool classroom to a preschool classroom. We would need it to support district students. So recreation began putting money away for a time that they would need to build a preschool building. Thankfully, the bond funds